Henry Winkler's parents escaped Nazi Germany, but they couldn't escape the cruel nickname they gave their son, Dumb Dog. His childhood was filled with shame. School was a daily nightmare. He struggled to read and couldn't make sense of math. Then came Hollywood. Even riding the motorcycle that made him famous was a challenge. The truth about his relationships with castmates and bizarre TV executive choices would shock fans. What really happened to Henry Winkler would break millions of hearts. Henry Winkler was born on October 30, 1945, in Manhattan. His parents fled Nazi Germany just in time, in 1939, leaving everything behind. But tragedy haunted the family. His uncle was delayed and killed in the Holocaust. That loss cast a long shadow over Henry's early years. His father rebuilt their lumber business in New York, and his mother worked there too. They believed safety came through money and education, but Henry didn't fit their plan. School was a mystery he couldn't unlock. No matter how hard he tried, his grades stayed low. His parents didn't understand why. They called him Dumb Dog whenever he failed. Punishments came often. No TV, no outings, repeated scoldings. Yet he wasn't lazy. He simply couldn't explain what was wrong. The home wasn't peaceful either. His parents argued loudly and often. Henry felt small, trapped in a world where nothing he did was right. By high school, shame weighed heavily on him. He believed he was stupid, but no one knew he had dyslexia, a secret he carried alone. He struggled with reading, spelling, and math. Teachers sent him to the corner. Classmates laughed when he stumbled over words. He hid the pain deep inside. He had no idea he had a real condition. He didn't discover it until he was 31. His stepson was diagnosed first. That revelation changed everything. "It wasn't my fault," Henry said later. "I wasn't stupid. I had something with a name." That moment made sense of years of struggle. Why school was so hard. Why memorizing was his only option. But even before that, something inside refused to quit. At 14, he made a bold choice. He wanted to be an actor. His parents disapproved, wanting him in the family business. But acting gave him something school never did. On stage, shame vanished. In 8th grade, he played Billy Budd in a school play. When the applause came, he felt whole for the first time. That feeling hooked him. He practiced memorizing scripts and learned to hide his reading struggles. In high school, he joined discussions to avoid writing. He mastered performance, using charm as armor. He didn't stop after graduation. He applied to 28 colleges and got into just 2. One was Emerson College in Boston. He chose Emerson and studied theater, adding child psychology as a backup. He nearly flunked his first 2 years, but on stage, something clicked. He starred in Peer Gynt. Teachers saw a spark regular classes missed, real talent. He found friends in a fraternity and slowly grew confident. He graduated in 1967. Decades later, Emerson awarded him an honorary doctorate. But that year, Henry aimed even higher. He auditioned for the Yale School of Drama. The competition was fierce. During the audition, his mind went blank. Every Shakespeare line escaped him. Then he took a risk. He improvised, made it up on the spot. It worked. The judges saw raw talent beneath the nerves. They accepted him. At Yale, the pressure was fierce. Scripts were tough to read. He took days to learn them, relying on memory and instinct. If he forgot, he improvised with confidence. No one noticed his secret. Teachers praised his energy. He later said he never read a script exactly as written. He just made it work. In 1970, he earned his Master of Fine Arts. Out of 25 actors, only 11 finished the program. He was one of the chosen few. That same year, Henry Winkler landed a coveted spot with the Yale Repertory Theatre. Only 3 students were picked for this elite opportunity. He earned $173 a week, performing in shows that were intense and demanding. From Shakespeare to Brecht, modern plays to experimental pieces, he played every role imaginable and worked around the clock. It was the perfect training ground. Even then, his dyslexia stayed hidden beneath the surface. He had to prepare harder than anyone else. What others read in hours, he spent days memorizing. When the scripts didn't stick, he improvised. He got so skilled at it that no one ever suspected. Later, while performing in Neil Simon's plays, he requested scripts months in advance, a secret way to cope. By fall 1971, Henry thought his big break had finally arrived. Fresh off a steady run at Yale Rep, he was cast in Moon Children at the renowned Arena stage in Washington, D.C., but what began as a dream quickly turned into a nightmare. After just 3 weeks of rehearsals, director Alan Schneider fired him. The reason cut deeper than any rejection before: Winkler was never meant to stay. He had only been a placeholder until the director's preferred actor was available. Winkler was stunned. He later said it felt like his brain had turned to cream cheese, and the director's words came from far away. Heartbroken, he packed his snow tires into his car and drove back to New York City, tears streaming all the way. That lonely drive wasn't just about losing a role, it was about losing faith in himself. He kept wondering if he wasn't good enough. Maybe acting just wasn't meant for him. But Winkler wasn't ready to give up. Back in New York, he hatched a plan. If serious theater couldn't pay the bills, maybe commercials could. Between 1971 and 1973, he landed around 30 commercials. It wasn't glamorous, but it gave him what every actor craves: steady income. With that safety net, he joined the Manhattan Theatre Club and performed on stage for free. Money didn't matter anymore. It became about getting better, staying sharp, and proving something to himself. Meanwhile, he joined an improv group called Off the Wall New York, a move that would stretch him in new ways. Commercials gave him financial freedom, theater gave him credibility, and improv challenged him like no script ever could. Together, they fueled his growth in every direction. Then came his shot at Broadway. On March 11, 1973, Winkler stepped onto the Broadway stage in 42 seconds from Broadway. For most actors, that moment would be unforgettable. For Winkler, it was unforgettable for all the wrong reasons. The show opened and closed the very same night. Just one performance. All the hope, all the effort, all the dreams built up over years, vanished in less than 24 hours. But that night, Winkler made a promise to himself. One day, he would make it right. He refused to let a one-night flop define his story. And that same year, he began breaking into film. He landed a role in The Lords of Flatbush, a gritty tale about Brooklyn greasers in the 1950s. Winkler played Butchie Weinstein, alongside a then-unknown Sylvester Stallone. The low-budget film gave him valuable screen time and experience. Around that time, he also appeared in Crazy Joe, playing a character named Manny. These weren't blockbusters, but they mattered. They gave him a new direction. Auditions were still tough, especially cold readings, thanks to his undiagnosed dyslexia. But Winkler learned to work around it. He found his own way to understand scripts and convey emotion. Jobs kept coming because people saw his raw talent, quiet anxiety wrapped in undeniable presence. Then that summer, something unexpected happened. His agent urged him to try Hollywood. Winkler resisted. He saw himself as a New York actor, rooted in the stage. But finally, he agreed to give Los Angeles a one-month trial. Using his commercial earnings, he funded the trip and brought along his friend Harry King for support. They landed in LA on September 18, 1973. In just 5 days, everything changed. Winkler landed a guest role on The Mary Tyler Moore Show. It was a small part, but it aired on one of the country's top shows. That moment cracked the door open. Auditions followed. Interest grew. Suddenly, Hollywood didn't feel so distant. That awkward dinner guest role led to a second audition, this time for Happy Days. The part had just 6 lines. Winkler wasn't what they imagined. They wanted a tall, blonde heartthrob. He was 5'6", dark-haired, and completely different. Still, he got called back for one last chance. On October 30th, his birthday, he walked into the room, threw on a leather jacket, changed his voice, read the lines, then tossed the script into the air and walked out. Everyone stared. Later that day, the phone rang. The role was his. But Winkler made one request. He didn't want to play just a cool guy, he wanted to show this character had a heart. That bold audition didn't just land him the job, it changed television history. When Happy Days premiered in January 1974, Fonzie was supposed to be a sidekick. In the very first episode, the script told him to stand in front of a mirror and comb his hair like every other 1950s greaser. But Winkler thought that was too obvious. So when the cameras rolled, he raised the comb, looked in the mirror, nodded like a king, and put the comb away. His message was clear. Fonzie didn't need to fix his hair. It was already perfect. The producers pushed back, but Winkler stood firm. That small, quiet move became the heart of Fonzie's charm: cool, confident, effortlessly smooth. It was an instinctive moment that transformed a background character into a star. But that cool image nearly never got off the ground, all because of one thing: his jacket. The network feared leather would make Fonzie look like a criminal. So for the entire first season, Winkler wore cloth jackets, including one bright green that looked completely out of place. Then Gary Marshall, the show's director, had an idea. He convinced ABC that Fonzie could wear leather, but only if he was near his motorcycle for safety reasons. So Marshall started slipping Fonzie's motorcycle into nearly every scene. Sometimes it made no sense, but it worked. By season 2, the leather jacket was a permanent fixture. It became so iconic that in 1980, Winkler donated one to the Smithsonian, where it remains a symbol of American pop culture. But that motorcycle came with a secret: Henry Winkler couldn't ride it. Not even a little. In fact, he was terrified of motorcycles. He only rode it once, uphill for 17 seconds, and that was it. One day on set, they asked him to move the bike just a few feet. But his dyslexia made the controls confusing. He twisted the throttle, couldn't find the brake, and shot forward. The camera crew scrambled out of the way as he and the bike slid under a truck. The producers rushed over, not to check on him, but to see if the rented bike was damaged. After that, they got creative. They placed the motorcycle on a wooden board with rubber wheels and pulled him around like a toddler in a wagon. Ironically, the bike had its own famous past. It was the same one Steve McQueen rode in The Great Escape. When Happy Days premiered in January 1974, Fonzie was never meant to be a star. In the pilot, he had only 6 lines. Richie Cunningham, played by Ron Howard, was supposed to be the main focus. But then, in December of that year, everything changed. A Christmas episode put Fonzie in the spotlight, and the audience went wild. When Winkler went on a publicity tour, more than 20,000 screaming fans swarmed a Dallas department store just to see him. The ratings soared. ABC saw the numbers and began reshaping the show around Fonzie. They even toyed with renaming it Fonzie's Happy Days. By season 3, he was the lead. At Christmas, the network gave all the cast members matching wallets, but Winkler's gift was a VCR worth thousands. Ron Howard later admitted he felt pushed to the side on his own show. But Fonzie kept growing. His leather jacket found a permanent home at the Smithsonian. His catchphrases, "Hey," and "Sit on it," echoed in households everywhere. In 1999, TV Guide ranked Fonzie as the 4th greatest TV character of all time. When Happy Days ended in 1984, Henry Winkler was one of the most famous faces in America. But once the cameras stopped rolling, his phone stopped ringing. For nearly a decade, no one wanted to hire him. He was the Fonz, and nothing else. Directors couldn't see beyond the leather jacket, the catchphrases, or the cool guy image. Henry later said the psychic pain was debilitating. Even with a loving family and a roof over his head, he felt lost. He turned down the lead in Grease, trying to avoid typecasting. But it didn't matter. In every audition room, all they saw was Fonzie. And it broke him. But Henry didn't give up. Instead, he pivoted. While still on Happy Days, he had quietly started Fair Dinkum Productions. By 1987, he had a deal with a major studio. He wasn't just acting anymore. He was producing real projects. One of the biggest hits was MacGyver, which became a sensation and even won a Genesis Award in 1991. He also helped bring The Sure Thing, Sightings, and So Weird to life. His name began appearing in credits again, not in front of the camera, but behind it. That was enough to keep him in the game. Then came another leap: directing. In 1988, he directed Memories of Me, a heartfelt film starring Billy Crystal. 5 years later, he directed Cop and a Half, featuring Burt Reynolds. It wasn't a blockbuster, but it was made by Ron Howard's company. Yes, that Ron Howard, his old friend from Happy Days. Slowly, Henry was proving himself again, this time without the Fonz. At the same time, something unexpected happened. He won an Emmy, but it wasn't for acting. It was for directing and producing a CBS school break special in 1984, starring Scott Baio. Tackling serious teen issues, it earned him a Daytime Emmy for Outstanding Children's Special, a lifeline that rekindled his career. While Hollywood kept turning him down as an actor, the industry quietly recognized Henry Winkler's talent behind the scenes. He kept working in children's programming, earning more awards. They didn't care if he was Fonzie, they just knew he could tell a story. Through it all, his personal life stayed rock solid. Henry married Stacy Weitzman in 1978. Stacy had a young son, Jed, who already loved Fonzie before Henry entered their lives. Together, They had 2 more children, Zoe in 1980 and Max in 1983. Today, they have 6 grandchildren. One grandchild, 11-year-old Ace, has a special tradition with Henry, collecting shot glasses from every city Grandpa visits. Henry loves taking them all out to shows and dinners. When asked the secret to their long marriage, he says it's about the ear, really listening, not just loving. But behind the charm and success, Henry carried a secret pain rooted deep in childhood. One night, when Jed was struggling with a school assignment, Henry scolded him to live up to his potential. It felt eerily familiar. That moment led Henry and Stacy to get Jed tested. The diagnosis, dyslexia. Suddenly, everything clicked. Henry realized at 31 that he had it too. All those years of school struggles, the yelling, the shame, the self-doubt, it wasn't laziness. It was something with a name. He was furious. All the misery I'd gone through had been for nothing, he said later. While playing the coolest guy on TV, Henry was quietly failing at table reads, missing lines, stumbling through scripts, feeling like a fraud. His parents, survivors who escaped Nazi Germany, expected perfection, but instead, they called him lazy and stupid. The truth was very different, and it changed him. That diagnosis didn't just heal him, it drove him. Both Zoe and Max were later diagnosed too. Henry became a loud, proud voice for dyslexia awareness, determined no kid should suffer as he did. In 1990, Henry and Stacy teamed up with Steven Spielberg and Kate Capshaw to launch the Children's Action Network. Their mission: help kids get immunized and find adoptive families. Over the years, they helped vaccinate over 200,000 children. Their work earned him the Norma Zaki Humanitarian Award. Henry hadn't just survived Hollywood, he made it serve something bigger. Then came Adam Sandler. On December 3, 1994, Sandler sang the Hanukkah song on Saturday Night Live and joked that Fonzie was 1/4 Jewish. That little joke changed everything. Henry called Sandler to thank him. That call turned into a friendship, and that friendship became a lifeline. 4 years later, it saved his career. In 1998, Sandler was shooting The Waterboy when disaster struck. His actor for Coach Klein bailed at the last second. At 11:30 p.m., Sandler called Winkler in a panic. "Henry, I need a favor," he said. Winkler didn't hesitate. He shaved, drove to the set, and sat in makeup until 3:30 a.m. That overnight sprint led to a box office smash. The Waterboy made $190 million worldwide on a $20 million budget. Winkler joked later that while Sandler gave Maseratis to his grown-up co-stars, all he got was a cookie. But the real gift was something else. He was back. That one role led to many more with Sandler, Little Nicky, Click, You Don't Mess with the Zone, and Sandy Wexler. But it wasn't just about comedy. Winkler finally had room to act again, opening new doors. In 2003, Arrested Development gave him a fresh spotlight. Originally slated for a one-time appearance, his character Barry Zuckerkorn, a hilariously awful lawyer, became a fan favorite and a regular on the show. Winkler stayed for 5 years and 32 episodes. The show was packed with smart-in jokes. In one episode, Barry jumped over a shark on a pier, a nod to the infamous Fonzie moment that coined the phrase, jumping the shark. Then they brought in Scott Baio to replace Barry, just like on Happy Days. Baio even joked, "This isn't the first time I've replaced Barry." Fans loved it. While leaning into comedy again, Winkler reminded the world he could do drama. On The Practice, between 1999 and 2000, he played Dr. Henry Olsen, a serious, emotional role that earned him his first Emmy nomination in nearly 20 years. It came at a time when he was fighting hard to escape Fonzie's shadow, and it worked. But Winkler wasn't done surprising people. In Parks and Recreation, he played Dr. Lou Saperstein, a clueless but deeply loving father to two of the show's wildest characters, Jean Ralphio and Mona Lisa. When Mona Lisa yelled, "I have done nothing wrong ever," his instant reply was perfect. "I know this, and I love you." His parenting style was a disaster, but it made for perfect comedy. He even tried to ruin Tom Haverford's business because of a fake story his kids told him. And in the finale, he helped them fake a death to start a casino in Tajikistan. That kind of unhinged support was classic Winkler, believable, hilarious, and totally unforgettable. Meanwhile, behind the camera, something else was happening. In 2003, he signed a small deal to write 2 children's books. Those 2 books grew into a full franchise. Hank Zipser, a series about a kid with dyslexia, blossomed into 17 books. Then came Here's Hank, with 12 more. After that, Ghost Buddies, Alien Superstar, and Detective Duck added up to 38 books in total. BBC adapted Winkler's Hank Zipser into a TV show, with him playing Mr. Rock, a teacher inspired by someone who helped him as a child. The Christmas special aired in 2016, and by 2022, HBO Max was streaming the full series. His stories reached kids worldwide, many struggling with dyslexia like Winkler. Then came Barry. In 2016, Bill Hader urged HBO to get Winkler to audition. He prepared with his son Max and brought heart to the role of Gene Cousineau, flawed, selfish, but deeply human. This performance finally earned him his first Emmy in 2018, 43 years into his career. His brief acceptance speech inspired many. If you stay at the table long enough, the chips come to you. Despite COVID delays, Season 3 of Barry in 2022 won rave reviews and multiple awards, showcasing Winkler's powerful blend of dark comedy and raw emotion. In 2011, Queen Elizabeth II honored Winkler with an OBE, not for acting, but for his dedication to helping children with dyslexia in the UK. He spent years working with schools and campaigns, connecting deeply because he wasn't diagnosed with dyslexia until age 31. His message to kids was simple: you're not broken. You just learn differently. Winkler's empathy stems from his own childhood struggles and shaped how he raised his family. Married to Stacey Weitzman since 1978, they have 3 children and 6 grandchildren, with a 7th on the way. He respects his role as a grandfather, always listening and supporting each child's unique needs. For example, when his grandson Ace wants McDonald's, Winkler checks with Ace's mom first. He learned from Max, who did homework with music playing, not a distraction but a focus aid. Zoe, once the last to learn to read, became a preschool teacher. Winkler's love transcends norms. Even when a grandchild loves Barbies and wears dresses, he simply smiles, saying, "You get on the canoe and paddle down that river." To Henry Winkler, every child deserves to be loved exactly as they are.